You've probably had this happen before. You spent months planning a beautiful trip, and within the first day or two, something happens that throws everything off. A delayed bag, the wrong outfit for the setting, or just not feeling prepared. And suddenly, you're problem solving and fixing instead of actually enjoying your vacation. And when that happens, the trip you were so excited about doesn't feel refined or effortless anymore. It feels stressful. Welcome back to Gracefully Lori. I'm Lori. If you're new here, this channel is for women who want to live authentically, express themselves with intention, and move through the world with quiet, modern grace. In this video, I'll show you 5 specific ways you can prepare for an international trip so you can move through your trip feeling calm, polished, and in control, as well as enjoy the trip you've worked so hard to create. So, stage 1, preparing for the trip. Most people approach trip preparation the same way. They book the flights, they book the hotel, they make a list of what they want to see, and then they trust the rest will work itself out from there. That approach isn't wrong, but it may be incomplete because there's a difference between planning a trip and preparing for one. As an example, I made a mistake during one of my trips that was completely avoidable. I drove hours out of my way on a Monday to pick up a gift from a store my dad loved, only to find that all stores in that area are closed on Mondays. It was time lost, a detour that didn't need to happen. And it's something I've never repeated because I learned to prepare differently. That's what's at stake when you plan without preparing. Not a ruined trip, but time spent fixing things that a little research might have prevented. Certain attractions, popular restaurants, centralized hotels, and things like high-speed trains often require significant advanced booking. Understanding cultural customs is important too. Tipping expectations, appropriate attire, for example, at religious sites, and other kinds of local norms. Part of moving through another country with awareness and grace is knowing these things before you arrive so you don't find yourself in difficult moments. I always put together an electronic itinerary for each day and each activity I have. The cost, the hours, how long a visit takes, whether you can book ahead, how to get to and from, and any dress code required. When I'm clear on details, I can spot potential problems before they happen, and that has saved me untold stress. This is preparation, not anxiety, not rigidity, just thinking one step further so that when you arrive, you can enjoy your trip without worry. Preparation isn't what limits the trip, it's what frees it. And that preparation extends beyond the itinerary because how you pack and what you bring determines whether that planning holds up during the actual trip. So, stage 2, packing with intention. There's a version of packing that's just about pulling things from your closet, fitting them in a suitcase, and then hoping it all works out when you get there. I believe in intentional packing, which is very different. It starts with a clear picture of the trip, the settings, the pace, and the specific moments I'm dressing for. But here's what most packing advice misses. It's rarely the outfit itself that determines whether a trip feels effortless. It's whether you thought through what could go wrong and have packed for that too. For example, you may have packed mostly light layers and it's colder than you expected. Your only comfortable walking shoes got soaked and you don't have a backup. You're heading straight from sightseeing to dinner and the clothing you're wearing needs attention you can't give it. I learned about things going wrong the hard way when I got sick while traveling alone. No room service, no energy to go out, no pharmacy close by. What should have been a rest day turned into bundling up in cold weather to track down a medication in a neighborhood I didn't know. I now carry a small medication pouch like this one with all of the necessary items. I also always have a handful of nutrition bars and I buy water for the room upon arrival. I also now carry a garment care pouch with all the necessities I need to save my outfits on the go. I can adapt this as needed. That's what packing without intention cost. Not a heavy suitcase, but the unraveling of the trip, one unprepared moment at a time. In my suitcase, every piece earns its place. I think through each day, what I'm doing, what does that moment call for? What's the weather likely to be? And if something goes wrong, do I have a backup? A cohesive color story makes this possible because when everything works together, one backup piece covers multiple situations. Because there's so much that could be talked about here related to packing, I've linked my travel playlist with my packing videos in the description below in case you want to learn more. Intentional packing isn't about a lighter bag. It's about the quiet confidence that whatever the day brings, you're ready for. But your packed bags are only part of what you're carrying into this trip. The other part is how you move through the travel day itself, starting with the airport. And that's where a lot of carefully laid plans meet their first real test. Stage 3, moving through airports calmly. Airports are not designed to be relaxing. There are lines, decisions, gate changes, tension that comes from traveling, surrounded by hundreds of other people who are also traveling, all moving at different speeds and with different levels of preparation. Most people just internalize it. They show up and start reacting. By the time they board their plane, they're already carrying stress into the trip. Some get to security and realize their liquids are buried. Their shoes, belt, or watch take time to remove. The line behind them is long and impatient. These are small things, but they can add unnecessary stress. I learned the hard way how things can go wrong even when you think you're ready. I was moving through security. My travel document had already been scanned when every station went down at once. I couldn't leave the area. My document was in the system, so I was stuck there while other travelers moved to different checkpoints. It took 30 or 40 minutes before things were up and running again. By then, I couldn't make it to my gate in time and I missed my flight. Not because I did anything wrong, because I hadn't given myself enough time for something I couldn't have predicted. Graceful travel means moving through all of this with calm, poise, and ease. And it starts before you leave for the airport, making sure you're ready for security with accessible liquids and laptop, being dressed comfortably, warmly, and in easy-to-manage layers, providing enough time to navigate the airport from parking through boarding so it doesn't leave you stressed or running. Before any international trip, I look up both airports, what food options are readily available, how far the walk is to the gate, and whether the airport posts security wait times. Graceful travel is about how you move through each stage of your trip. And the next stage, the one that catches most people off guard, isn't the flight. It's what happens in the first few hours after you land. Because arriving in a new country, tired and underprepared, has a way of setting a tone that's hard to shake. So, stage 4, arriving prepared in a new city. Landing in a new country is one of the most exciting moments of any trip. It's also one of the most disorienting. You're tired, even if your flight was smooth. Your body is somewhere new and your mind is still catching up. Decisions that would feel simple on an ordinary day, how to get to your hotel, where to find a quick meal, take more out of you than they should. This is the moment most people don't plan for. Not the trip, the arrival. There was a time I thought I had everything worked out with the car service on arrival. I had all the information I thought I needed, and I still spent 30 minutes wandering around trying to find the right location, to the point where my driver almost left me. He eventually called me and walked over to find me. What felt like clarity at home wasn't nearly clear enough when tired and in an airport and country I didn't know well. That was entirely avoidable. So here are examples of decisions worth making before you land. Transportation first, not just which option, but what it actually requires. If you're using a rideshare, which service operates there? Do you have the app set up? And does your cell phone have service? Or are you arranging for a new SIM card there? If you're taking public transport, do you know how to navigate it and which pass makes most sense? If you've arranged for a car service, do you know exactly where to meet your driver, the specific location, and do you have their contact information? Currency next. Which cards work internationally without fees? And if I need foreign currency, my preference is to order it through my bank before I leave. I can do it online. It comes to my house and my fees are waived. And the first day, jet lag is real. So I make it the lightest day, not limiting myself, but strategically planning it. I especially think through the gap between landing and the hotel check-in because it almost always exists. Where will I leave my luggage? Are my plans realistic for how I actually feel? That's what arrival preparation looks like. Not complicated, not rigid, just decided before the trip has truly begun. But even when you've prepared this carefully, the itinerary, the packing, the airport, the arrival, travel will still find a way to surprise you. The question isn't whether something unexpected will happen, it's whether you've thought through that too. Stage 5, handling the unexpected. International travel will always involve the unexpected. That's not a flaw in the plan. It's just how travel works. I remember an evening where my flight was delayed several times and then canceled late at night. Everyone headed to the counter at once, the line was long, and the frustration was hard to miss. You could hear it, see it, feel it moving through the crowd. But how people handled it was not the same. Some had flexibility the next morning, and some didn't. Some had what they needed for an unplanned overnight. Some were realizing right then that they didn't. Some had access to extra funds, and some didn't. The flight was canceled equally for all of us. What was different was the preparation each person had brought with them. While everyone else was waiting in line, I stepped aside and I called the airline directly. I rebooked a morning flight, found a nearby hotel on my phone, picked up my bag, and was in bed within an hour. It wasn't the evening I had planned, but it was completely manageable. Over the years, I've learned to keep my schedule flexible enough to absorb unexpected changes. And I've thought through in advance how I'd handle situations that tend to come up. So when something does, I'm not making decisions under pressure for the first time. Also, know your travel insurance. Not just that you have it, but what it actually covers. Know what's in your bag well enough that an unplanned overnight isn't a crisis, and build enough flexibility into your schedule that one disrupted day doesn't ruin the rest of the trip. This is what graceful travel looks like when things go wrong. Not a perfect trip, not the absence of disruption, just the quiet confidence that you've prepared well enough to handle whatever comes up and get back to enjoying the trip you've worked so hard to plan. Graceful travel isn't about having perfect trips. It's about preparing well enough that the unexpected never steals the joy of the experience. So there's a version of international travel that feels like effort from the moment you leave until the moment you return. And then there's a version that feels, even when things go wrong, like you're moving through it with a kind of ease. The difference isn't luck. It is an experience. It's the decisions you made before you left and along the way. When you prepare with intention, the trip, the packing, the airports, the arrival, and even the unexpected, you stop reacting to your travel and you start actually living it. The energy that you would have spent solving problems gets to go somewhere else, toward the meal, the view, the conversation, the moment you planned all of this for. That's what graceful travel gives you. Not a perfect trip, just the freedom to be fully present in the one you have. If you found this video helpful, please like it so it can be shared with others who may enjoy conversations like these. If you're new here and enjoy exploring the quieter details that elevate everyday life, please consider subscribing. And if you want to know more about packing techniques, travel planning, or other travel topics, please visit my travel playlist linked below. Until next time, my graceful friends.